My parents stole $50,000 from my savings to buy my sister a coffee shop franchise. Then she called me to brag about the family investing in the golden child. They had no idea what I had been building in secret. What happened at the investor conference would make them realize their biggest mistake. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let me know where you are listening from in the comments. My name is Lauren Mitchell and I am 27 years old. For as long as I can remember, my parents have treated my sister Brianna like she could do no wrong, while treating me like I was lucky to be noticed. Brianna is 25. She has never held a real job. Our parents have funded her entire life, her apartment, her car, her lifestyle. Every failed attempt at college, every abandoned hobby, every impulsive idea she had, they threw money at it. I am 27. I worked multiple jobs through college. I learned to flip houses at 22, buying rundown properties, fixing them up, and selling them for profit. I saved every dollar I earned. I hustled constantly. When I was 18, my parents were joint account holders on my savings account. I forgot to remove them after I turned 18. I never imagined they would steal from me, but they did. I checked my account one morning and saw that $50,000 was missing. Gone. I called the bank in a panic. It was an authorized withdrawal, the representative told me, made by a joint account holder. My stomach dropped. My parents. They still had access to my account and I had never thought to remove them because who imagines their own parents would rob them? I called them immediately. "Where is my money?" I demanded. My mother's voice was defensive. "We borrowed it for Brianna's opportunity." "Borrowed? You took it without asking." "Lauren, don't be dramatic," my father said. "Family helps family. You'll get it back when the franchise succeeds." They had used my $50,000 to buy Brianna a franchise location of a trendy coffee shop chain. My sister had zero experience in food service, zero experience in retail, zero experience in management. But they gave her my money to open a business she knew nothing about. "That's theft," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "I earned that money. She has no experience running a business." "Don't be selfish," my mother snapped. "Your sister deserves this chance. You're just flipping houses, she's building something real." They hung up on me. 2 days later, Brianna called. "Hey Lauren," she said cheerfully. "Thanks for the investment in my coffee shop. Mom and Dad said you were happy to help." "I didn't help. They stole from me." She laughed. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. Think of it as the family investing in the golden child, the one with real potential. You flip houses for a living. I'm building a brand." I hung up on her. For weeks afterward, my parents talked openly about Brianna's franchise at family gatherings. They showed zero remorse. They acted like they had done me a favor by including me in family investment opportunities. I almost reported it as theft. I looked into pressing charges, but I didn't want the drama. I didn't want to be the daughter who sent her parents to court. So I swallowed my rage and decided to let karma handle it. But I also removed my parents from every single account I had, and I made a promise to myself. They would never know about my real success. What my family did not know was that I had been building something far bigger than house flipping. 3 years earlier, I bought my first rental property, then another, then another. By the time they stole from me, I owned 24 properties across the city. A mix of residential rentals and small commercial spaces. My portfolio generated $80,000 every single month in passive income. I was worth over $6 million if I sum up my assets. But I drove an older car. I wore modest clothes. I lived in a simple apartment. I had learned the hard way to hide my success from vultures. After the theft, I became even more secretive. While my parents were funding Brianna's coffee shop fantasy, I was working on something massive, a mixed-use development project in a struggling neighborhood. 20 affordable housing units, street-level retail space, and a community center. It would revitalize an entire block. 2 months after Brianna's franchise opened, I heard through a mutual friend that it was struggling. Lines out the door the first week, then chaos. Brianna had no management skills. Bad scheduling, massive food waste, terrible customer service. Staff were quitting constantly. The franchise corporate office started sending warning letters. My parents pumped in more money. 50,000 here, 30,000 there. Trying to save it. Brianna posted perfect Instagram photos, pretending everything was fine. Behind the scenes, she was losing money every single day. I watched from a distance and said nothing. Then my development project was completed. It was beautiful. It transformed the neighborhood. The local Real Estate Investors Association nominated me for their annual conference, Developer of the Year. The ceremony was in 2 weeks. There would be press coverage. Local news wanted to do a feature story. Young developer transforms neighborhood. I hesitated. Public recognition meant my family would find out about my success. They would see what I had built. They would know what I was worth. My mentor pushed me. You earned this. Don't hide anymore. I accepted the award. I agreed to the press coverage. The conference was scheduled for the same week that Brianna's coffee shop officially collapsed. The day before the conference, I got a text from our mutual friend. Your parents are meeting with bankruptcy lawyers tomorrow. Something about Brianna's franchise and massive debts. I did not respond. I had an award ceremony to prepare for. A news crew would be there. My development project would be featured. My entire portfolio would become public knowledge. And my parents, who had stolen $50,000 from me to fund their golden child's failure, were about to see exactly what I had built while they were not paying attention. They had no idea what was coming. The morning of the conference, my lawyer sent me an email with a news article attached. The headline read, Franchise Chain Sues Local Owner for Breach of Contract. It was about Brianna. The franchisor was demanding $150,000 in damages, plus legal fees. The article quoted corporate representatives, an inexperienced owner who refused training and guidance, resulting in significant brand damage. My lawyer's message, thought you should know before your big day. I processed this information while getting dressed for the ceremony. Brianna's coffee shop had lasted exactly 4 months, and now she was being sued for destroying it. The Real Estate Investors Conference was packed. Industry leaders, developers, investors, journalists, press cameras everywhere. This was the biggest event in our local real estate community. When they announced my category, I felt my heart racing. Developer of the Year goes to Lauren Mitchell for her transformative mixed-use project that revitalized the Riverside neighborhood. I walked onto that stage. The applause was overwhelming. Behind me, screens showed before and after photos of my development, a struggling block transformed into a thriving community. Lauren Mitchell is 27 years old, the presenter said. She started investing in real estate at 24 and now owns a portfolio of 24 properties across the city. The news cameras were rolling, phones were recording. This moment was being documented from every angle. Afterward, reporters surrounded me for interviews. How did you finance your first project? I started with house flipping. Saved everything. Bought my first rental property at 24. Built from there. That's remarkable for someone your age. I learned to work hard and keep my head down. The local news ran the story that evening. I watched it from my apartment. 27-year-old developer wins prestigious award. They featured my project. They mentioned my portfolio. They quoted me about starting from nothing and working multiple jobs. The story was shared on social media, on LinkedIn, in real estate forums. My phone buzzed constantly with congratulations from colleagues. My mentor texted, "You're trending in all the industry groups, well deserved." Then I saw the family group chat. I had muted it months ago but never left. Cousins were posting, "Lauren, I just saw you on the news." My aunt, "Developer of the Year? When did this happen?" My parents had not commented. The next morning, I was at my office. I owned a 30% stake in the professional building downtown where my company operated. I had a big meeting scheduled, a potential investor for my next development project. This man was a legend, a $200 million portfolio. He could make or break careers. My assistant buzzed me. "Lauren, your parents are in the lobby." "What? Why?" "They have a TV news crew with them." They're asking for you. I pulled up the security monitor. My mother was crying. My father looked desperate. A local news reporter stood with them, cameraman beside her. The reporter was speaking into the camera. We understand there's been family estrangement, and they want to publicly reconnect with their daughter. I realized immediately what was happening. They saw my success on the news last night. They saw the award, the portfolio, the recognition. And now they were here, creating a reconciliation story for the cameras. My assistant looked worried. Your investor arrives in 10 minutes. I could not have this circus in my building, not during the most important meeting of my career. I texted my lawyer. My parents are here with media. What do I do? She responded immediately. Say nothing. I'm sending you something. An email arrived. A formal bill. $50,000 stolen. 8 months of interest. Legal fees for drafting the document. Total. $85,000. Terms. Pay within 6 months, or face criminal charges for theft. I forwarded it to my lawyer. File this if they don't leave. Then I decided to go downstairs and end this publicly. I stepped outside just as my investor's town car pulled up. He was a legend in the industry. He stepped out, saw the news crew in commotion, and paused. My parents spotted me immediately. Lauren! My mother cried. Please, we need to talk. We made mistakes, my father added, but we're family. The news camera turned toward me. The reporter approached with her microphone. Ms. Mitchell, your parents say. I stopped walking. My investor was 10 feet away, listening to every word. This was the moment. The cameras were on me. My parents were playing victims. My career-defining investor was watching how I handled this. I looked directly into the camera. My investor stood by his car, watching. The news camera was on me. My parents were crying, playing victims for the public. The reporter had her microphone ready. Behind me was my office building, the one I owned a 30% stake in. Around me was the success I built after they stole from me. And in front of me were the people who had taken $50,000, given it to their golden child, and showed zero remorse until their own world collapsed. My lawyer had just sent the bill, $85,000 or criminal charges. My investor was watching how I handled this. This moment would define everything. I looked directly into the camera. I don't negotiate with thieves. I walked past my parents toward my investor. The reporter followed, microphone extended. Ms. Mitchell, can you explain? I stopped. Turned back to the camera. My voice was clear and firm. 8 months ago, my parents stole $50,000 from my savings account. Money I earned flipping houses and working multiple jobs. They gave it to my sister to buy a coffee shop franchise she had no experience running. My mother tried to interrupt. We were helping family, I continued. They showed no remorse. My sister called me to brag about the family, investing in the golden child. They're here now because their investment failed, because I won an award, because they need something from me again. I pointed at my building. I built this without them. 24 properties, $80,000 monthly in passive income, Developer of the Year, all while they were funding failure and calling it love. I looked directly at my parents. You're not here to reconcile. You're here because you're desperate. I turned to my investor and shook his hand. Sorry for the delay. Shall we go upstairs? We walked into the building. Security closed the doors behind us, leaving my parents and the cameras outside. Upstairs in the conference room, my investor sat back in his chair. I respect someone who stands up for themselves, he said. Now, let's talk about this development project. We finalized a partnership, $15 million for a mixed-use project, the biggest deal of my career. Meanwhile, the news clip went viral. Developer calls out family thieves on camera spread across social media. Over 2 million views in 24 hours. Comments overwhelmingly supported me. My lawyer sent the official demand to my parents. $85,000 in 6 months or criminal charges would be filed. My phone exploded with interview requests and speaking invitations. Within a week, I learned the full extent of my parents' situation through legal filings. They had co-signed $200,000 in loans for Brianna's franchise. Their house was in foreclosure, but I promised myself I won't let that happen to them. Their retirement accounts were emptied. All for a coffee shop that lasted 4 months. Brianna had moved back home, no job, blaming everyone but herself. My parents' calls went straight to voicemail. I never answered. But I arranged quietly how they would get their home safe, but no guarantee of access to me. 3 months in, they sent a desperate letter. "We'll lose everything. Please help. We're sorry." I sat with that letter for weeks. I talked to my lawyer. If I drop the charges, am I just enabling them again? "That's not a legal question," she said. "That's personal." 5 months after I sent the bill, I made my decision. "Drop the criminal charges," I told my lawyer. "But I want the debt on record, and I want a restraining order if they contact me again." I would not make them pay the $85,000, but I was done. No relationship, no contact. They needed to understand consequences without me destroying them completely. My lawyer filed the paperwork. Debt forgiven, charges dropped, no contact order in place. I took the $85,000 I forgave and invested it into a scholarship fund for women in real estate. I named it after my maternal grandmother, who had believed in me when no one else did. The press covered it. Developer creates scholarship after family estrangement. Brianna's failed franchise became a cautionary tale in business school case studies about inexperienced owners and family money. 1 year later, I broke ground on my third major development. A student from my scholarship program was interning with my company. She stood beside me at the groundbreaking ceremony, learning, building her own future. A reporter approached. "Any regrets about your family situation?" I looked at the young woman beside me, at the development project in front of me, at the life I built by choosing peace over people who only valued me when they needed something. "I chose peace over people who chose to use me," I said. "No regrets." Thanks for listening to the end. If you have ever been stolen from or used by people who should have protected you, remember this: you don't owe loyalty to people who showed you none. Build your success, set your boundaries, and choose peace over toxic relationships. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about choosing yourself and building the life you deserve.